Welcome back, Devils fans. I am your host, Ace, here on Running with the Devils. Pardon the shades, my eyes, I got a little allergy thing going on, not a lot of sleep, so the eyes are all banged up, so I had to throw the shades on. But if you're a Devils fan, please consider subscribing. It costs you nothing. Hit that little subscribe button. I'm bringing you Devils content all year long, in the season, off season, and all that fun stuff. Like, share, comment, all that good stuff. I'm going to start off today's program with a congratulations to the Devils ECHL affiliate, the Adirondack Thunder. They came back from an 0-2 series hole against Norfolk to win 4 straight and move on to the Kelly Cup semifinals against the Florida Everblades. And our boy Isaac Poulter, goaltending prospect, with another solid outing last night in Game 6 to secure the win for the Thunder, who will move on to round 3 against Florida. And what a team. I'll tell you what, if you haven't seen it, check it out on the channel. I went up to Glens Falls, New York for a couple of the Thunder games in the previous round, and it's a rowdy atmosphere and a lot of fun. I highly suggest it if you're in the area. I'm going to try to get back to a game in the next round and, check it out. But congratulations to the Thunder. I highly recommend going to a game if you're in the area or if you could make the trip. Really great time in the ECHL. And I'm moving on to my next point here. From the department of Holy Shit, I Feel Old, Martin Brodeur's daughter, Annabelle Brodeur, graduated from college yesterday. Congratulations to Annabelle. And wow, I remember, as the Brodeur kids were born, you would see things on TV about it and yada, yada. And his daughter has graduated college. And that makes me feel like a really, really old man. And now on to the substance of the program today. The New Jersey Devils are still without a head coach. And there's a lot of things, a lot of moving pieces, a lot of variables going on with the search. It seems as though one of the following men will be the Devils' next head coach. We have Craig Berube, Sheldon Keefe, Todd McLellan, Jaywoodcroft, potentially Mike Sullivan. And it seems to me that the first domino that's going to fall in this whole thing is the Toronto job. I'm not sure what Toronto is taking so long for. And now I'm starting to, maybe not necessarily a conspiracy theory, but maybe teams are waiting to see what other coaches maybe get canned. Maybe as a result of some second-round exits, we might see some other coaches become available. And a lot of people recently have been throwing around the name rodbrindamour. Now, I personally don't believe rodbrindamour is going to leave the Canes. I do think that he will interview or maybe field some offers from other teams to drive up the price on Carolina to get him to stay there, and he's trying to force their hand to pay him more. But that could be an interesting scenario because it just seems that things have kind of hit a stalemate, and it's like, what is Toronto doing? I honestly thought that Toronto was going to hire Berube pretty quickly after Sheldon Keefe was announced to be part of the dearly departed and was fired by the Leafs. I thought Berube was going to be named pretty quickly thereafter. That has not happened, and so now I have to think, what else is going on behind the scenes? What other moving parts are at play here before we start seeing coaches fill these vacancies? And so there's a lot of questions. Maybe Toronto is hoping to grab Brindamour. Who really knows? But I do think we will see something, I'd imagine, in the next few days. But if Brindamour does decide to move on, that makes things really interesting. I do still believe that the Devils' job is, at a minimum, the second most desirable job, only to Toronto. And I think that depends on the coaching candidate as well. I could see plenty of scenarios where the Devils would be a more attractive destination for some head coaches. But either way, I would say in any world that the Devils and Maple Leafs are definitely the two most desirable jobs. And now it's just kind of depending on your personal preference for ways of life and things of that nature. Because as I've mentioned before, the Toronto media and coaching in Toronto, especially now, given another year, another collapse, the pressure in Toronto is going to be immense. The media is going to be fierce, and maybe not all coaches really want to deal with that. So it's a very interesting thing to keep your eye on. I will say a lot of people I've seen have been kind of down on the idea of hiring Sheldon Keefe, and I don't think he'd be a terrible hire. I do think he couldn't get it done in Toronto, but I don't know that I could blame him solely for that or put the majority of the blame on him for that. I just think, honestly, at this point, the Leafs might be a cursed franchise, and I think some of their players are just going to go down as great players that couldn't win. And that'd be a shame if Austin Matthews is one of them. But it just, for whatever reason, they're an underachieving group, and at some point, I think you have to kind of put the onus on the players and say, this group, the players as they are, they're the ones most at fault. We can't blame the coach when we've assembled a decent team and you can never get over the hump. And so I don't know all the inner workings of what, has gone wrong in Toronto, but it seems as though they may be on the brink of a complete blow up there. I think Marner's going to get moved, or at least they're going to try to move him. I don't know if he waives his no trade or no move clause. But I do think that nucleus needs a shakeup, and they need to figure it out because they've had some good teams on paper. They've had some good regular seasons. And when the playoffs come, it is just flame out, burn out, and another disappointed season for Maple Leafs fans. And so that'll be very interesting. But I don't think Keefe would be a terrible hire. Out of the names I mentioned, I think the only one that I would be kind of disappointed with if we were to hire him is Woodcroft. I just, I'm not high on Woodcroft. And, I don't know that I want to take a chance on a guy like that to kind of prove his case to the world as the coach of the Devils. I don't know. Woodcroft is just not a guy I'm interested in. If something happens with Sullivan in Pittsburgh, I think he would be a decent hire. And like I said, I think Keefe would be a decent hire. McLellan, I'm kind of on the fence about. I think that could go either way. But again, I don't think he'd be a terrible coach. In the end, I'm not going to be too enthusiastic or angry with any of these guys. I don't know a lot about some of them. And again, I think Woodcroft is just, there's a little too much unknown there for me to feel comfortable with him. But any of these other guys I think could do a decent job. Berube would be my number one of those guys. And if Brindamour was to become available, he probably would be my new number one. And again, that could all be, conjecture. Who knows if they lose to the Rangers, if he will move on, or the bidding war that could ensue. I think a lot of people would be in on Brindamour, but maybe that's what this is all being held up on. It's very interesting to see, but it seems like everything is kind of at a standstill at the moment, waiting for the pieces to fall, and so far there's been nothing. So we'll keep an eye as the head coach hunt continues, and I had mentioned in a live I did the other night to a few of you that were watching, my two top personal head coaching choices are completely off the board. No one has mentioned them. They're probably not realistic whatsoever. I don't know why they couldn't be, but I'll give you my two off the board ones. And number one is Larry Robinson. Larry Robinson is one of the most decorated and winningest hockey players, coaches, executives in the history of our beautiful game. He's won everywhere he's gone. He's got rings from all different teams. And he's brought the Devils to the promised land as the head coach in 2000 after taking over for Robbie Ftorek when he was fired. And he was an assistant on both the 95 and 2003 teams. Larry Robinson is a winner, and I think he could be a good balance of a player's coach and a do what you got to do or I'll beat you into line type of coach. I do think the group needs a disciplinarian, although I do think a lot of our young players will go into culture shock with a he's not available, but a guy like Torts or someone, even Berube, someone who's a real hard ass. I think some of these kids on the team might just be shell shocked, going from one drastic environment to the other, where Tom Fitzgerald admitted it was a country club type atmosphere, and now all of a sudden you have the prison warden coming in and cracking the whip. It might break some of the guys, but the reality is, if you can't stand up to it, then maybe you're not meant to be on the team, and maybe getting a hard ass coach will be a way to weed out the guys that aren't cut out to win at the highest level and the guys that are. But I do think Larry Robinson will immediately command respect, proven winner. He's been with this organization as well as others, and he just knows what it takes to win. I think he could be that good balance of accountability, but also not a guy that the players hate, and you might get that good balance there, and it's worked out for the Devils in 2000. Granted, we had a much more veteran group at the time, but I do think he is a hockey genius. He's been around the game for decades, and while he's probably enjoying his retired life, I believe in California or Florida, somewhere nice, living the life with his grandkids and enjoying his boat, if I'm Tom Fitzgerald, I call Larry Robinson and say, I'm sorry, Larry, to interrupt you. The New Jersey Devils need you to do one last final tour of duty to get the ship on the right path. And I would even take him for 2 years. If you're like, listen, Larry, give us 2 years, see what you could do, and that's it. Then you could go back to retirement and enjoy your life. But in the meantime, please help mold these kids and get them on the winning track. Larry Robinson would be my number one pick. I think it would be fantastic. Again, I'm not saying that this is going to happen. I don't even know that Larry Robinson's name has come out of anyone's mouth in regards to the head coaching position inside the walls of the Prudential Center War Room in Fitzgerald's office. Probably was never even mentioned. But that is one I would like to see. He would be my personal number one choice. And then my number two choice, also, again, not very likely whatsoever, but Adam Oates. And again, I believe Adam Oates, for similar reasons as Larry Robinson. Adam Oates was an amazing player. He's had tours of duty as a head coach and assistant coach. He was in Washington with Ovechkin. A lot of the guys there talked highly of him. He had a brief stint in New Jersey where he was like co-coaching with Scott Stevens. And to be quite honest, we had an absolutely tragic roster during those years, and there was not much he could do. Since then, Adam Oates has gone on to open his own wildly successful coaching, mentoring type program where he takes on individual players and does a wide range of things with them, whether it's on-ice drills, video stuff. He has delved into analytics somewhat as part of his program. He does look at a lot of analytics, but he's not fully dependent on it, which I think is great. I do think analytics are good when used properly. I don't think every decision should be made, live and die with the analytics. But I think as a tool in your tool bag to assess overall players or teams and systems, I do think analytics could be useful. And it seems as though Adam Oates has kind of bridged the gap between the old school coach and the new school with the analytics. He does lots of on-ice stuff. He's had Connor McDavid and a bunch of other star players work with him over the years, and I do think that he is just a brilliant hockey mind. I mean, I was watching, he was just came out on an interview with Cam and Strick. I'll put the link in the description, but they were talking about Connor Bedard and, how he takes a lot of unnecessary punishment and hits during the game, and Adam Oates thoroughly breaks down the reasons as to why he thinks these things are happening, how they could be fixed. And so I do think he's a true hockey wizard, and while I do think he's probably killing it and doing very well financially in his venture as kind of, a player coach on his own, I do think he has a team of people that work with him, and I think we might be able to bribe him to kind of leave that post for a couple years and come to the Devils, because I do think there's not many guys in the game that see and think the game the way he does, and it's just, I think he's next level. I do think he's next level, and I think he's another guy that would immediately command respect of the players. And so Adam Oates would be my number two pick. Again, I don't think this is rooted in any sort of realistic hope, but me personally, I'm just going to talk about it. Those are the two guys that I haven't heard anyone mention, and those were the two guys that I thought of right away, heading into the summer after this pathetic season where we missed the playoffs. So we'll keep an eye on the coaching situation. Very interesting. I think we're going to see the Toronto job filled first, and then all the pieces are going to go wherever they go afterwards. But I think there's plenty of decent options for the Devils, and I think at least 2 or 3 of them would be decent hires for the group. So we'll see how that all plays out. And then on to the next issue of business. What would a Runnin' with the Devils episode be if your boy Ace did not find a way to bring up Brady Tkachuk? And here we are. I'm bringing up Brady Tkachuk. So just a little recap. I've been talking about Brady Tkachuk for months. Here and there, I said that he's, exactly the type of guy the Devils need. He brings everything the Devils don't have: tenacity, physicality, heart, grit. He does it all. Scores, hits, fights. Absolute beauty of a player. Would love to have him on the Devils, and he'd be a great fit. I've been saying that for a few months. And then, I don't know, maybe a month or a month and a half ago, Mike Rupp randomly on NHL Network, just out of nowhere, was like, if I was the New Jersey Devils, I would go out and do anything I can to get Brady Tkachuk. And then that kind of started fueling it more. So then more people kind of saw that, started talking about it a little bit more. And again, I never said it was happening or that I heard it was happening. I just said this is an ideal guy to get on the Devils, and then made the points of why it makes sense from both, or it could make sense from both sides for a deal like this to happen. So then Mike Rupp says it on NHL Network. The momentum starts going a little bit. Meanwhile, there's people, thumbing their nose at it and everywhere saying, no, this is unfounded and Brady Tkachuk's unavailable. And we got Senators fans crying and then Devils fans talking smack. And then finally, the other day on Spittin' Chicklets, I did a video about this where I laid it all out. If you haven't seen it, check out the Brady Tkachuk video on the channel. And it breaks down everything, all the linkages between Brady and the Devils and the state of New Jersey and why it makes all the sense in the world. So if you haven't seen it, check that video out. It'll give you a really good background into it. But Chicklets goes and says that they've heard the rumor of Brady to New Jersey. And now the internet basically hits a fever pitch. Once they put out the short clip of that online, it went crazy on Twitter. People started talking about it all again. More Senators fans crying. More Devils fans saying it's ridiculous and it's unfounded and this, that, and the other thing. And all I'm going to say is to people and channels and all these things that want to refute it, and your evidence is that I have Senator sources and Senators are saying this and saying that. I don't care about sources. I don't care about any of this stuff, because the reality is the deal still makes sense for the New Jersey Devils, and it makes sense for Brady to want to play here. With all the connections. His wife is from New Jersey. Fitzgerald is his cousin. He's super close with the Hughes. On and on and on. It makes sense. And so people are going to talk about it. Again, I'm not saying that I heard this rumor that it's going to happen, but the reality is when you have a situation that makes so much sense from the Devils side and from Brady Tkachuk personally, it just makes sense for at least the deal to be explored. So I don't care that people are going to say, I have Senator sources and this. Of course the Senators are going to say he's not available, you idiots. That's how GMs work. They're not going to give up their leverage and come out and say, yeah, Brady hates this place, we're going to trade him. That's never going to happen. If that happens, the GM is doing an absolutely horrific job. The reality is, I do believe he probably will not be traded in this offseason. It's a shame because the way the pieces all fell with our high draft pick, Seamus Casey just signing the entry-level deal. There's a lot of things that would have helped the Devils try to get Brady here in a deal this summer. With that being said, I think the clock is running, and if Travis Green does not get them into the playoffs next season, I firmly believe Brady Tkachuk will then be demanding out after 7 years of playing for a losing organization in Ottawa. He's going to say enough's enough. I served my time here. I love the community. I'll always love the community. Thank you for giving me the C. But in the end, I want to win a Stanley Cup, and I do not believe Ottawa is the place where that could happen. So just in closing on the Brady stuff, I don't know how likely it is that it's going to happen this summer. It's probably not likely. But Fitzgerald should certainly try, because it certainly makes sense for the Devils. And regardless of what these sources and Staios, all these people, everyone on the Senator side is going to say the rumors are nonsense and unfounded and blah, blah, blah. That's exactly what they're supposed to say. So I personally put no stock in it. I do believe they're not actively shopping him, but I also don't believe that it's impossible to get him. And so that's why I implore Tom Fitzgerald to pick up the phone and really try to see if you could make a trade package that forces Staios' hand where he says, you know what, I didn't want to trade Brady Tkachuk, but how in my right mind could I turn down the package that you're offering me? And that's all it comes down to. So I don't care who says what. The reality is it would make sense, and I will continue to hold out hope. I will continue to use our hashtag here, bring Brady to NJ, now and forever until he's here or goes to another team. Bring Brady to NJ is not going anywhere, and I enjoy watching the Senators fans cry. And then the Devil fans that, want to pound their chest and be right. Oh, I told you he wasn't coming here. I'm not saying he is coming here. I'm just telling you that it makes sense, and I hope that it does happen because he would be a beautiful addition to the Devils roster and brings in everything that we need. And it would be really, really nice luxury to have on the Devils. And that's all about Brady for now. But bring Brady to NJ. And lastly, on these playoffs, wow. I mean, I thought the Canes were 1,000% getting swept. After they went down 3-0, I said, these guys are done. All my Ranger fan friends are blowing up my phone. Bring out the brooms. Here's another one. We're sweeping to the cup. And now we have us a series. The Canes found a way to win Game 4. Found a way to win Game 5. And now tomorrow night in Raleigh, the Canes will host the Rangers, looking to force a Game 7 at MSG. My God, is this theater. If somehow this Rangers team blows a 3-0 lead and the Canes come back and win 4 in a row, I mean, wow. Ranger fans should go into hiding because the media, fans of other teams, fans of the Canes, that would be one of the biggest choke jobs in the history of the league, and it couldn't happen to a better team. I would absolutely love to see it. I have the Canes advancing on in my bracket, and I obviously hate the Rangers, so that's a win-win there. But wow, what an interesting series that has become. And in the West, I honestly am shocked at the way the Avalanche are just kind of being handled by the Dallas Stars. A lot of people were high on the Stars going into the playoffs. They had a great regular season. I didn't buy into the hype, to be honest. I was like, yeah, that's cute. You had a nice regular season. I didn't see them getting it done like this in the playoffs, and who knows? I mean, they have just as good of a chance to win the Cup as anybody. So, Jake Ottinger and the Dallas Stars, man, they are dangerous, and who knows? Maybe they could win. A lot of people did pick them. I just didn't buy into the hype, but it looks like the hype is real, and it looks like, they're on the verge of bouncing out the Avalanche, who I had in my bracket winning the series before ultimately losing to the Edmonton Oilers in the Western Conference Final. And that brings us to the Edmonton-Vancouver series, Game 4 last night. Wow. What a finish. What a finish. Oilers up 2-1 late in the third with the goalie pulled. Vancouver on a couple little deflection redirects off a stick, off a skate. Tie up the game with the goalie pulled. Edmonton is silence. Just complete silence in Edmonton. You could have heard a pin drop. It looks like we're going into overtime, and what a huge overtime that would have been. I mean, you win the game, your series is tied 2-2. You lose the game, you're down 3-1. Like, what a moment. But sure enough, after Vancouver ties at 2-2, next shift, Edmonton scores. Edmonton finds a way. While I'm watching the game, I'm like, I actually said out loud, I was like, this would be awesome if Edmonton just scored again right here and just crushed their hearts. And sure enough, that's what happened. Edmonton with the late goal, win the game 3-2, and series is all knotted up at 2. That's going to be a good one, and that's probably going to go 7. That could be an absolute war in Western Canada. I have the Edmonton Oilers moving on from that series and ultimately winning the Cup. But what a series. Draisaitl and McDavid are just phenoms. Draisaitl in the playoffs is just complete money. And what they're doing there in Edmonton, wow, man. I mean, at some point they have to break through and win a Cup. I just can't see how they wouldn't. And I picked them to do it this year. Hopefully Adam Henrique, former New Jersey Devil legend, hoists a cup with those boys. And then finally, the Florida-Boston series, wow. I mean, Boston wins a tight one, 2-1. And now that series is 3-2. Florida leading the series 3-2. And, that anything could happen there. I mean, I would be shocked if Florida lost 3 in a row. I really would. But they're going back to Boston looking to force a 7. That's going to be another great game. But tonight, we have just one game on the slate. Yeah, just the Avs-Dallas. Okay, yeah, one game on the slate tonight. Dallas looking to move on to the Western Conference Finals. Colorado looking to extend the series. Former New Jersey Devil Zach Parise might be his last NHL game tonight. I'll definitely be checking that one out. And so far, it's been a crazy playoffs. But let me know in the comments anything about the coaching search, the Brady Tkachuk drama, anything else I talked about, the playoffs. Throw it all out there. By the way, a lot of you guys are very stingy with the likes. Smash the like button. It takes you 0.3 seconds of your life, and it costs you 0 cents, $0. Smash the like button. I don't know what's going on here. The algorithm's punishing me. I got people in my ear telling me you got to push the likes more. Please smash the damn like button. It takes 0.3 seconds. Thank you very much. And go Thunder, Adirondack Thunder, go Thunder, and go Hurricanes. Oh, man, I want the Hurricanes to win this series so bad. I never thought it'd be possible. But throw anything out there in the comments. Love talking to you all. I will be back soon with some more stuff. Maybe we'll have a head coach name soon. Maybe we won't. But that's all I got for you today. Like, comment, subscribe, and all that jazz. Until next time, friends, let's go Devils.